everybody. I am the produce farmer, and we have with us the one and only DJD.
Howdy. And Craig. Craig's here too.
Yeah, and Craig in the background. Welcome to a Navcast. This is the last episode of the year. I can't believe it. It's kind of crazy when it comes down to it.
I was trying to figure out what happened, and I realized what happened, but it took me a little bit of thinking to figure out what happened. In that, so we were like one for one every episode or whatever, and doing essentially usually around 50 episodes a year. And
hmm
sometimes when we skip an episode, we just don't we skip the number too. Sometimes sneaky little thing, insider
Oh,
thing
gotcha.
that
Yeah,
most people may not have noticed. But
but
we're
now
now
you have.
on yeah, but we're now on episode 6 of season 10. And I was trying to figure out how we lost like 4 episodes because we do like skip the number or whatever sometimes when we skip an episode. So we should technically be like caught up relatively, you know. Uh, but then I remembered, oh yeah, last year a bunch of us went to Chicago,
Oh,
and then we
right,
didn't
right.
record an episode for like weeks that we were like the 1 week beforehand, I think, or something like that. So yeah, so
That was.
that's
I
what
mean, when you
happened.
think about that, it's been crazy. Yeah, that was about a year ago. We were all doing that in Chicago, and wow,
Yeah,
lots happened since then. It seems like it was just yesterday, but at the same time, as much as we fit in, it's like wow, um, a lot's happened in the year, and yeah, I think we were so busy. Like again, like you said, we were so busy those weeks, but also I know I was like busy after I got back.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
my brother does his yearly B Expo in Louisville, and yeah, well, that's going to happen again next week. So I'm gearing up for that. So I actually will probably still be here for next year's podcast, um, before I leave next year, next week. But yeah, also next year.
I mean, also next year. Yeah.
It works
I
both
was like,
ways.
that's a weird way to say that, but also, yeah, valid.
Next year,
Yeah.
I will be back in more episodes. They finally got my contract, figured out. No, we'll
Theoretically, we'll see. I
I
mean,
think
like, look,
one or two more per month or something like that. We'll see. We'll see.
look, running a network business is complicated. Okay, when it comes down to the money aspect of things, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, it comes down
we'll
to the
probably see some
sponsors, too.
changes with next season, but we'll see how it goes.
Who knows? Craig might take a more verbal role this next season. Who knows?
Unlikely, but maybe, possibly, yeah. Oh gosh, there was. Oh man, I'm not going to remember it now. Oh no, in Destiny,
Oh, here we go.
which
We're starting off with Destiny here in the last season,
in
last
Destiny,
episode
man,
of the year.
I don't like the writing. It's really difficult to go back to Destiny 2 with this like Renegades thing and everything, and just like remember, oh yeah, like I feel like there's way less consistency and just way less like I don't know attention being paid to like making sure that things like align in terms of writing and like there was like literally man I can't remember the exact line but like there was a line that literally repeated from like one character said something and then like 2 lines later another character said the exact same thing like phrased slightly differently and it's
Yeah,
like what are we doing here like I mean come on like did
that's
nobody
how
proof
you.
this and then I remembered how many people Bungie has fired like over the past like 2 years and it's like okay maybe no one did but like
Yeah,
but
and through it all, well, Bungie, but also PlayStation,
well
because
yeah
they're pulling the
yeah I
strings
mean
at this
Sony
point.
is fully in charge at this point yeah or at least mostly we'll see
Well,
I think Marathon's going to be like that like deciding point of like how much autonomy Bungie retains but I imagine it won't be much regardless but we'll see
Marathon's what slated to come out March or something like that.
yeah I think March 20th maybe that sounds right I don't know something like that um
Yeah, I was hoping to get into the beta for the previous whenever they released that, or alpha, I guess maybe it was, but I mean I'm still interested in it. I mean
March 1st.
But what March 1st? I was right. Oh, look at that. I'm interested, but again, all these games, that are starting to become alike. It comes down to what's what's the one that's gonna stand out among the rest.
Right, because it can't just be a twist, right? Like, unless it's like a monumental twist that like costs like a lot of money, like Fortnite has. But even Fortnite had the building, which was like a fundamental like game changer. But the building
Yeah,
itself
something
wasn't
different
enough.
flavor for sure.
Like the building by itself, I don't think would have carried Fortnite. I think the like crossovers and the collabs that Fortnite has done are what made it like what it is. I don't
Yeah,
think that
we've gone
Fortnite
over
would
that
have
plenty.
stood out. Yeah,
The fact that Fortnite, what it does well is, and you've made reference to this before as well, they're really good at taking what other people do and maybe even just emulating it or doing it better, and then adding it
right.
to a level of where everyone can play together and do it in a universe, a connected universe of things that you like, so everybody can wear their skins from the franchises that they adore, wherever
Yeah,
they come from, Star Wars, you name it. Um, Star Wars always comes to mind, but Marvel, DC, the big ones,
yeah,
and yeah, and now we got it's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah. But my
Um,
point being, like, I mean, essentially, like, Marathon has to have something other than it just being a little bit different than other extraction shooters. I think, like, it has to be more than just like, oh, the sci-fi setting is cool, like to really like actually develop as a game, like in a crowded market, which is what the extraction shooter game market is. Uh, I feel like Marathon would really has to deliver something
yeah, they're gonna
more
have to a little bit more
to the
unique.
table.
And I haven't
Yeah,
delved much into um marathon or anything as of late, like to like the nth degree. But my thing is, things in the past for Bungie have been, even if loosely, had some kind of narrative. You think about the games that they had, and if it's just all multiplayer without some kind of like backstory, I think that's going to be a problem for me, anyways, when I'm playing it, because it's just there's always been
sure.
like some kind of, even if it's loose or even if it's like Destiny where you have to figure it out or read the grimoire or whatever, there is still like a huge universe to like wrap your mind around a little bit, like something to delve into. And if it's not there, then you can really see like the attention to detail. Um, if it's not there, then you'll be able to tell, and I think that'll come through in the gameplay, and it'll be less unique, less reason for me to stay in that universe, because I'm big about. I mean, I think you and me both are big about like having rich universes to actually,
Yeah,
play in.
I need it. I do. Like even Arc Raiders has like some story to it, but like I don't know that it's enough for me to really get that invested. Like just because of the way that that story is told. Uh, so far anyway. And I haven't played a lot of it, but like so far it hasn't gripped me. And I need a game to grip me at this point for me to like really get invested.
And that's, I mean, all the good games that I think about, like big games for me, have always had both of those things. Being able to do well on all aspects of that, having a great universe that they're building from, but also having those mechanics that you need in games to kind of flow and survive and to be fun, but also have that loop that you enjoy, and able to do it cohesively with like friends and teams and whoever you're playing with, and
Yep.
and make that at the end of the day, so to speak, it to make it that fun experience that you want to experience again and again.
Well, and
But
that's a great
also,
point too. Like, I mean, like the friends part is a great point too, because like that is essentially kind of creating your own story with like your friends, like making your own stories of like how that goes. Sometimes that is enough to kind of make up for the lack of story, but then you have to like be at a point with like your friends being willing to like invest that time with you and
yeah.
being like,
Well, and
available
Destiny was
too.
really good about that, especially early on. Destiny 1,
Yeah.
Destiny even early 2. It's just that they're like, we want you to share these experiences, and I love that. Like everybody's story was a little different. Everybody's, what they remember. We all have stories that we made along the way, and it's really cool to kind of reflect on those. Even we all remember the Vault of Glass that first time, and
Yeah.
that's a huge milestone for most of us gamers that were around when that came out. And yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be something like that, in my opinion, to be a success. To go forward and to really, really work for any of us who've like kind of lived in the Bungie universe for so long. You
Well,
know,
but the other thing I would say too is that also it's more difficult now than it's ever been because like when Destiny came out, what other games were like it, right? Like not a lot. I would say even now, like I feel like from what I've heard, Warframe is pretty much like on a like level to be compared now, but it wasn't always. Like
yeah, they've done
when it
some real improvements to that game, and I mean,
yeah,
it's been around for a long time. It's been
yeah.
around a long, long time. I mean, since
But
what,
like I mean
Destiny
like
1 days or a little bit after, maybe.
with Marathon, you have Hunt, you have Arc Raiders, you have uh shoot. There's other extraction shooters out there. I just can't think of them. Is it like Hunt for Tarkov or something like that?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
or Escape from Tarkov. There we go.
yeah. Escape from
And then
Tarkov.
there's like a
Hmm.
bunch of games that have like some sort of extraction like game inside them, like Call of Duty now does, or like with the DMZ thing or whatever. And I believe Battlefield might. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I mean, like it's a like nowadays there are quality options, and that gets way more difficult for like a single game in that because I don't have time for to play like I've been playing Ark a lot lately, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
enjoyed Johnny got me in Empower World a bit, and I enjoyed my time with it. It was actually a lot of fun, but like I don't have time for multiple survival games. I don't, you know,
Yeah,
like
no, no.
open world crafting survival games already are a time suck. To play more than one of them just sounds insane to me. I just don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, we've been
Uh,
I've been getting the kids into Minecraft, and it's just it's a fun experience. But it is one of those things when you're building and creating and doing any of those survival things, it's going to take some time, especially if you have kind of a vision of something you're wanting to achieve. And to gain, survival, anything you got to gain, you have to build up a certain status of like material quote. You gotta have at least enough to like survive. Then once you're out of that area of like surviving, then you can do the rest of the things you kind of envision for it. But again, it only takes like one attack, and you lose all your things, like we had happen, and you're on that survival mode again. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
but to continue to say, it's like all that stuff, kind of adds up, and you can only like, I mean, it takes a lot of time to build any of that stuff. I mean, we spent several
Right.
hours just trying to build like this one fort that I wanted to, and we don't have unlimited resources like those people who play in creator mode. Trying to
Yeah.
throw that out there,
Well, and then
but
like each game is slightly different too. Like I mean, like when it comes down to it, like they all have different dialects. I would say in terms of like the way that they operate. And so like if you're playing multiple games at the same time, it's easy to get confused. Like I can only also handle like so many RPGs at the same time. Even though I love game jumping and I game jump a lot, I can't play like more than like two or three at the same time because like I will get confused between them. I'll be like, wait a second, this has a completely different upgrade system. Oh, this game I can sprint and this game I can't, Or like, I mean, like shooters or like whatever. Like, I mean, like, I like, okay, like this is how these guns work or whatever, Like, I mean, these are the modes available in this or whatever. This is what I'm ranking up right now. Or, oh, yeah, I need to do my daily challenges or like my battle pass or whatever. Like, I mean, there's a lot there
yeah,
where
there's
it's just like, man, like I love game jumping, but like, even I, as someone who can't like sustain focus on like a single game for that long unless I'm locked in, like I also can't play too many of the same genre. And so I mean, like I feel like
Yeah,
most
there's
people probably
gotta be a
aren't
balance, you
willing
know?
to do that either. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily see like usually people either play Marvel Rivals or Overwatch, you know? Like I mean like they're usually not playing both, you know? They're usually
Yeah,
playing
they're
like
usually
League of
hardcore on
Legends
one
or
or the other.
Smite, you know? I mean like yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah. With
Uh,
any of those games, especially when you dial it into being like if you're going to be very proficient with it,
exactly,
you
yeah.
have to just like sink in, like spend the time and get really good with one. But yeah, you're gonna sacrifice something else along the way. But again, I don't know. I think that might be, at least for me, that's better. I'd rather be proficient and better at one game and
I,
know what I'm doing, and instead of being like just having that thing in the back of my head, well, I need to do all these different things and not being able to get to them. That's a frustrating thing too. Like
yeah.
at some point, something's gonna break. You know, you
Or you're
gotta.
just not going to make it very far in any of them, you know?
Well,
And that's
you're not
almost
gonna have
worse. Like
fun.
it's like yeah, yeah.
The experience is going to be to lessen at that point, and it could be a really good game, but you'll end up not enjoying it because you're diluting it at that point.
I
Um,
had this moment where I just wrapped up Expedition 33. Uh, I had this moment where I reached the end of a chapter in that game, and I was like, kind of like, sort of like nonplussed at the ending of the chapter. I'm like, this is impactful, but like maybe I was overblowing this game, or maybe it would mean a lot more if I played this all at once because like it's just not hitting the way that I feel like it should be. And maybe it's because I spread this out over like, like 5 or 6 months or however long I did, right?
yeah.
Um, but it turned out I was totally wrong, by the way. They just like threw me for a loop. Uh, so I mean, like, when it came down to it, it was exactly as impactful as it should have been and everything. And like I just wasn't ready for it. Uh, but like, I feel like you can absolutely have that happen with games where like, you're just, when you spread them out or when you're playing too many at the same time or you're not making enough progress in them, then you're getting a lesser experience in them. And, that I think can kind of like nullify the joy of playing those games, of experiencing those things.
Yeah, you're not experiencing them at that point as the developers intended either, and
Right.
so I think the problem there, which I'm very much guilty of this. I especially 10, 15 years ago, it was like the more I could get in, the faster I could get it in, the more I could get through was like a better experience for me just because I was getting through them and checking them off the list. Now I'm more like I want to experience it the way it needs to be experienced. I want to understand the full story. I want the backstory. I want why am I in this world? Why does it matter? And I will actually go to the to the point of like if a game almost doesn't have it at that point these days, like should I invest? Should I even waste my time?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
when
And I wouldn't even
when you
call it
have
a
less
waste, but
time.
like I mean like yeah, exactly. Like you do have to kind of selectively choose what you dedicate like and prioritize
Well, and again,
inwards. Yeah.
games are so much longer these days,
That's
which
true
is
too.
great,
Yeah.
but
Like I mean like shoot,
games are
like
longer.
Expedition 33 has a 20% completion rate, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes down to it, that's a 20 plus hour game, 20 to 30 hours if you're just like mainlining it. Like
Mhm.
that's a crazy completion rate for like a game like that long. But also, like, I feel like that's one of the shorter games I've played this year. Like, when it comes down to it,
Right,
too,
right, right.
it's just like that's 20 hours, and I spent way more than 20 hours in it. But I mean, like, still, like, overall, like, yeah, the games have like gotten so much bigger than like ever could have really been imagined, and like, it's not just due to like how difficult they are; it's just how much content is there. Like I remember, don't get me wrong, it took me a long time to beat Donkey Kong Country. I'm pretty sure as a kid, but that was
Mhm.
because I sucked at it. Like,
And there's
that's
that's a good example of a different style too of how they treat a game to make it longer without as much. Let's say um, you're not going as many places. Like it's just a different level of um, you know it's just a different way that the developers make the games to make them last. And I was actually kind of experienced this with I was going through some of the old Tomb Raiders games. I'm actually starting at the very first one, which I've never played, which is because I didn't have a PlayStation back, when they all came out. So this is pretty interesting for me to play this on the Xbox. This remastered version of Tomb Raider. And it has the whole I like the reference, like the whole Halo, going back and forth between the old engine or the
Oh,
old
that's
graphics and the
cool.
new
I love
graphics. Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
It's
great.
awesome, and it's
Oh,
quite impressive what they did, for this game. But the funny thing that they did, and I think a lot of games did, when they started, out or in that time period, was that they used certain aspects of the engine that were maybe not as flushed like they are now. Um, like running is so smooth, and you don't even think about it. Every game has to have like smooth transitions between all that, frame rates and all that between, like, it has to be cohesive these days. But back then, when they were still figuring it out, like, part of the puzzle was the actual jumping. I don't know if you remember all that, but like is actually like, because the spinning and just like angling your person or the character on a third person game back then, part of the puzzle was you just navigating because it wasn't as fluid, and I'm like,
sure. Yeah.
it hit me the other day. I'm like, this is literally a puzzle that's difficult because of just the time period, the time period of how
Right.
they
Yeah.
of how jumping and all that worked back then. And it was like, wow, I hadn't thought about it when I played it back in those days, but it was really hard to navigate back then. You couldn't just like plug up a controller and just go at it. Nowadays, that's just expected in every game to be like, how to do everything, off the fly because everything's smooth. You don't think about, oh, I'm gonna have a jump problem, on a normal
Or
jump or anything like.
when you do, you get upset at it, right? Like
Oh
that's the
yeah,
whole thing with Assassin's Creed, right? Is that like, oh, it feels clunky or whatever? Because when you try to jump to a wall, you end up on the opposite wall. It's like that was par for the course back in the day. Like I mean, like
yeah.
that
No,
was very
it's
much like
so
you had
fluid.
way more difficult problems when it came down to like doing that kind of stuff back in the day.
Yeah, it's so fluid and like free flow and all that kind of stuff that they have in games. Like, going back, it makes me think, like, respect it a little bit, more like where we're at now, because all these things that aren't puzzles now, they can't you can't build a game like that anymore. You just can't.
Yeah.
But it's fun to go back and kind of respect where they've kind of built it from. Like, oh, this in this time period we could actually incorporate it into our puzzles. And I think each decade kind of has that, with the different generations of gaming, and kind of like, we all have different games and styles that we like, but in each developer, as they go along, they're like, oh, this is a trick that we're using right now to make it hard for the player, and we'll here in 10 years we'll come up with something else that we're using. But you can see the patterns. You can see the patterns of what's going on now, versus what was then. Back then, it was different. It was like the game was made long by different aspects of the mechanics. Is really what I'm coming down to. It's like the
Sure. Yeah.
mechanics was part of the puzzles. But no, I'm having a really good time with it. I really am excited to go through them. But it's just like, I'm also in the back of my head, I'm like, man, this will be great when I get here in about 10 years ahead of this game. Once I get past 3, 4, or 5, maybe in 6, where things start getting a little bit more fluid. But it's also been a great experience. Like, this is fun. I think
That's how I
everybody
felt.
should go back.
I felt when I went back to Assassin's Creed 1 for my Ubisoft June thing that I was doing, where
Oh
this
yeah.
game is rough. Okay,
No,
like I mean
in
I
my in
like the
my head,
story and
that game
everything,
is
but
like,
like there's some stuff in that.
That's funny that you say that because you know how we have amnesia on these games, that we
Yeah,
experienced
yeah,
right off the bat, especially when it was brand new and nothing else is like it. Like in my head, that is the best looking and best playing Assassin's Creed game, still to this day. I'm sure it's not true, but in my head, nothing else beats it. And I know part of that is just like the very first time you play a game like that, that's nothing like it, out there for the
right.
most part.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
just like it blows your mind, and then it leaves you with like there can't be anything better.
Well, and that's like part
The
of the
graphics
reason
have to
why
be the best, right?
it's difficult for me to like put down Destiny, right? Is because Destiny still remains like best in class for like a lot of things that it does. Like even though the writing may have like taken a hit, in my opinion, granted, I mean, who am I but
Oh, I
some guy
definitely
who's played
agree.
a lot of video games and like stuff, but like even though like I feel like the writing's taken a big hit and everything, like ultimately, like game. I love the graphical style of it, and it's a very smooth game, and it just does a lot of things really, really well that like nothing else really compares to still, and that's difficult because like I would love to kind of like play other games that like itch that scratch at this point, but or scratch that itch. There we go. But
I was about to say, did you just say that? Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, maybe that we all have our own sayings. I'm gonna start saying that now.
itch that scratch. Yeah, I
It's
kind of
that
like it
scratch.
actually. It kind of has a
I
like
kind
I
of
don't
like it
know. Oh
now. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we need more words that just make people think, what?
But
We get so
like
used to the same phrases. It's good to mix them up,
I mean, I don't disagree. Yeah. But there's something that's just like uniquely like Destiny about the thing that like it's really difficult to like let go of when nothing else can kind of do that what it does to the same degree that it does. And I mean, like, there's other games that I'm sure like do similar things or whatever, but like I haven't found a single one like Destiny in that regard. And I've played a lot of games. And part of it too is the fact that like it does what it does and it does it all co-op. So even though like I'm not playing co-op right now, like the fact that I could is still a monumental like point in its favor too.
Yeah, the it's hard when you get to that level of polish on a game like that, and um, I mean, sure, like the story may have taken a hit in that aspect and everything, but like the fact that you can jump in and out with friends on a game like that just feels great. Trying to get that experience somewhere else, especially when you've already had that experience, it works. It,
Yeah.
it gets kind of tough because
And it's man, also
it's a good
too, I
game.
mean, I'm sure part of it too is like the like almost Stockholm syndrome for a little bit. Like I mean like or rather I guess more like a toxic relationship where like,
Oh yeah.
things were really
Hmm.
good at the beginning, and so like I mean like I'm always gonna be a little bit nostalgic towards that because like there are things that like I mean like it are familiar and feel like kind of like almost like coming home to, like and like that are comfortable with Destiny and the way that I've played it over the years. That like no other game will be able to do that because I haven't given it the same amount of time. Uh, but like, I mean, I don't know. And the Star Wars stuff is kind of cool. It really kind of is. They did,
Oh
I
yeah, I
think, to
forgot they
where I
did that.
just,
Uh-huh.
oof, yeah. Uh,
So
I mean, like,
so I mean, there. Say what you will about the game. I'm looking at it right now to see how much actually time I put into this game. Yeah. So I mean, say what you will about the game. I mean, when you looks like I put 62 days into this game or whatever. There's
a lot
probably
of
some of it's
time.
idle, but
Yeah.
whatever. At that point, it's like years and years of doing these things, and I get some of it is like a loop at that point, and you get burnt out with it a little bit. And again, when I've gone
Yeah.
back in the past here, I don't know. It's been several months when I jumped in just to see how it was. Some of it's the same, but it is what it is, and you can't complain for it being exactly what it is because you know Fortnite is what it is, Apex is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
Those game loops are what they are, so can't complain about it as far as that goes. But at some point you're going to want a different experience, and that's really what it comes down. I think for most of us who've been in Destiny or any games like that, it's time for a change. It's time for something different. Time to experience a new universe, or without them doing something new in that universe. Like I could go back to that universe if there's something else. But at this point for me, it's like I've done it. Like that chapter's kind of closed for me for now. But anything new, I need something a little more fresh. I guess at this point, I played the loop, and
Yeah.
I'm
No,
getting
I mean
tired of
that's
loops. Anyways,
totally fair. Yeah. Yeah.
I've mentioned that in the probably last podcast, but loops are, the loop isn't fresh enough for me anymore, and I
Well,
want
and the fact
more
is, like,
meaningful, experiences.
again, it's almost like the toxic relationship thing. I think kind of works well in this particular instance because, like, also, like, things have become demonstrably worse than they were, right? Like, I mean, like, and that's part of the thing too, is like we know how it used to be in Destiny or whatever. And so it's not even just that it's like grown stale, which to a degree, sure, I would agree that some of it has. But then also, like, it used to be better. It used to be like legitimately like we used to go on dates like 3 times a week or whatever. And now it's like maybe once a month, Like
Yeah, yeah.
or like we used to talk a lot more about like our days, and it used to not just be like casual small talk. But like now Destiny and I like I mean like we kind of like we say
Gotta need
hi
your
and
space.
bye and like,
You
oh hey, what did you do at work? Yeah, great.
know.
Like that, and that's it. Like, and it's just like like it's like no, like like things used to
I
be
really like this
significantly
analogy.
like
I think the title will have to be Destiny and You or something like that. I don't know.
but like
No,
I mean like
Destiny.
it used to be
uh,
legitimately like I don't know more fun to spend with Destiny, and it just it just isn't as much fun now. And part of that might be like the lack of novelty, but I think part of it too is just like that like we've both changed so much.
yeah. I when I played Destiny, I used to feel something. Now I just now I don't know where I've lost myself. I don't know. That's funny.
But
Yeah, there's so many ways you can take that. But no, yeah. I
but I
mean,
mean,
when it
like,
comes to,
yeah, and
I,
that's it's pretty natural to like grow out of games. I think. Obviously, game companies
well,
don't want
and
you to.
and how long have we been? Like, my character age, I'm looking at my stats. It's 9 years. So
Yep.
from Destiny
Yeah.
1 to Destiny 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, the game have I had a character and kind of went back and forth in that long. Not anything else that I can really get out of my head. Not many. Of course, we played Halo, but every new Halo is like a kind of like reset in
A
a way.
reset
You got
almost.
a new
Yeah. Yeah.
multiplayer. You got some new mechanics. You got some new weapons. You got a new addition to the story. But it's not like I made my loadout or whatever, and I'm carrying it over the next whatever 3 or 4 titles. Yeah, so it's just different. Like I think that's part of like going traversing this landscape because this is something that we haven't seen as much before that, and now we're like, okay, these games we're having again these games that last longer. How long are we going to retain them? How long are we going to um, be able to have the bandwidth for it all? And before
Right. Yeah.
before being burnt out and then going to a new one, but because
One, and the
there's so
question
many,
is
like we've
like
talked about.
two, like do they change their focus track like a younger audience or whatever, or like an upcoming like new audience, or do they try to retain the audience like stuck with them or whatever and continue to cater to like what they want and everything. And that's a really difficult choice to make. I think that you can sometimes get lucky enough to like strike a perfect balance, but that is very, very rare. And that balance is always shifting. And so, like, I mean, when it comes down to it, like, it's just like, I don't know. I don't think that there's a perfect answer to what you do as a game. I just know that Destiny isn't for me anymore. It just isn't. Like with the turns that it's taken and like the values that I had for it and everything, like it's just no longer aligned with those. And that's fine. But like
But then also could be,
like
you
then the
changing
question
a little bit
is
as a
like,
gamer too. Like
yeah,
you're
I mean,
going through
sure,
different stuff,
but like
different things
when it
have come
comes to
out.
like,
You want to experience new things.
yeah, and like I mean, like, but then there's also the question of like, who is it then appealing to? And I think that's the problem that a game like Destiny has, where it's been around long enough that like maybe it's lost sight of who it was supposed to be appealing to, and is like struggling to try to find something in that regard. Because like its numbers are down, and that also is kind of bringing it back to Marathon. What worries me about Marathon is like, I mean, like ultimately, like if they can't determine how to keep an audience and how to like continue to like appeal to that audience or attract a new one, like I mean, like are are they making the right choices then? And can they make the right choices in other endeavors? Because like I would kind of lean towards, you know, be a
Yeah,
hater.
it's really hard to see with with the lack of information that I know, but like again from like just the things that I've seen, I can't I can't say that it will be as engaging to me as much as Destiny was, and even
Right.
Destiny is losing its edge. So
Yeah.
that's something to think we towards Marathon, like will it have enough stuff to keep it going? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in March.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make this a Destiny podcast. I didn't mean for that to happen.
Well, no, but well, it's not necessarily Destiny, but like you said, full circle. We're talking about Marathon. Whether it could retain it. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, though. I have no idea
Yeah.
if they have a good backstory, but that to me, that's really what's going to take. It's going to take um, good mechanics, which they usually do fairly well on multiplayer things.
Right.
In missions
That's
and
true.
things that work together in a fire team that seems like it's cohesive, but somewhat of a backstory that makes sense, and maybe even delve into that. That's what I would think would work for me. I couldn't see it working any other way. And it might. Who knows? I don't know. They might have something up their sleeve. But again, with Destiny being a little bit not Destiny, Bungie being a Destiny, 1 or even 2 came out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It gives me a little more doubt.
Well, it's kind of like, man, like I used to be the biggest like Red versus Blue fan, but then when other writers took over, I immediately could tell like the style of writing changed, and it was like, okay, like this just isn't a show that I necessarily enjoy anymore, or at least not as much, you know? I mean, and like that kind of sucks, but like that's also like I don't know, like part of that too is like having other people come in and take over, and we talked about this with franchises like Star Wars and such. But then part of that too is okay. I think it's just a matter of accepting it, where it's like, okay, well, this isn't for me. Guess what? That's fine. Like I still have the old stuff, you know. Like I mean, except for the Red War, but like, like I mean, like when it comes down to
Well, except this, that, and the other. But
yeah, yeah. But like, but like, I mean, I still have, like the old stuff to be able to like, you know, like enjoy or whatever. That was kind of like more something that I was able to relate to. And not everything needs to be made for me when it comes down to it. Like, I mean, I loved Ahsoka, but like, even if I didn't, I would still be glad it exists because guess what? Like, I mean, like, I think Star Wars needs to be for me. If they did like a super, like, I don't know, like, if they were like, if they did a show that targeted like like the young Jedi crowd, you know, like the young Jedi Academy kind of thing or whatever, or like the Clone Wars, even, you know what? I'm glad the Clone Wars exists when it comes down to it. I've turned full circle on that a little bit in terms of like I still don't like it.
Wow. Can
I
we
still I
can we
still
get this
kind of
clip?
don't like
I
it.
think we're gonna have to make a little
But
clip of
like
this. I can't believe I'm hearing this. Like people wouldn't have
but
believed this like 5, 10 years ago. I don't know.
but
This is
honestly,
groundbreaking
when it
news.
comes down to it, the fact that so many people do get something of value out of it, I think is really cool. And I think that like that allowing them to enter a universe like that's means a lot to me, and for them to get their own like value out of that universe is really cool. And so like if younger people like or different people with like different like like values or styles like end up like taking over like writing or whatever, like I think that ultimately, even though I might not vibe with it, that's okay. I mean, like,
Well,
not
and
everything
that's
needs to
about
be
kind
for
of
me.
the great thing
Yeah.
about universes anyways is like there is something usually for everybody. And we all have our like especially when you're like reading books. I feel like we all have our different styles of imagine, where the book takes us or our imagination takes us.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can kind of like be in that universe and then have our own imagination take over to the fact like, hey, this works for me. Other things don't necessarily, but like we can, still exist in that universe or be able to have all these different mediums in this universe to like we because we all different, especially we all like different parts of the Star Wars universe. I prefer Legends, obviously,
Yeah.
because of so many different legends that were just phenomenal. And
Right.
you're never gonna tell
Well,
me,
and again,
uh,
like, man, there are some things that I would argue are objectively better, but just because I think that they're objectively better doesn't necessarily mean that like they're as like popular or as well liked or whatever. And like I have to kind of deal
well,
with that. Like I mean, like
and
because like
there's
for
also this, like
Legends, there
if they hadn't picked it up and they had just stopped because of
then there
whoever
wouldn't
took it
be
over,
anything, right?
there
Yep,
wouldn't
that's
be
a great point.
anything new.
That's a
And
great
so
point. Yeah,
that
yeah,
would be worse. So even though
yeah,
I might not like everything that has come out, it'd be worse to just let it die, So
yeah.
I think
Don't do
that's the
Kylo Ren.
takeaway from that. uh,
But yeah, no, that's an excellent point. Because like I mean, like yeah, I think that the cohesiveness that like existed with uh with Legends was uniquely better. Um, because like there were people who cared very much about like maintaining like the overall like alignment of everything and like the overall canonicalness of everything, even if George Lucas didn't really give a rip, like I mean, like,
yeah, well,
which
there
I
was a
think is
certain
fine,
like
like for him to like do that too. But I mean, like, yeah. So like, I mean,
there
the
was a
fact that
certain
like,
level of like we have to make sure we hit this bar, but besides that, in that the writers had a little bit more freedom, which actually I think made it more interesting in most of the Legends books because then you're having all these different writers with different takes on whether for better or worse with a little bit their imagination of what they could come up with in
sure,
their stories that they're writing. And so you get kind of more variations in a sense of like, oh, what could happen, what could take place in this universe, what haven't we seen, let's try something else. And you're not going to get that um as much if you have a rigid system. Appreciate keeping people in line, making things make sense across the board, and making sure you're not contradicting like certain known things, which can like throw you off and almost take you out. But there's also
yeah,
something
like
about like making sure that there's continued creativity inside that element of maintaining. But again, that's a fine balance. It's a hard balance, but it's I don't know. I don't know if they are maintaining it that well any better now. So it's like I like
well,
Legends more
I think
when it
like
comes down to it.
I think that they actually well as I recall, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. Like they had a lore keeper back in the day who would like kind of like make sure and like for like books that were going to be like licensed out or published or whatever, like had to like kind of make sure that they were like not contradicting too much or like uh being like ruining other authors' works in terms of that. And like I think that was a really cool idea that like doesn't exist now. It feels like now it's just kind of like the universe is constantly changing based on like whoever wrote the latest thing. Which I don't know. Like I mean like the fact that like
Yeah,
a comic can like upend like everything, and it's like and no one read the comic and it's like wait a second, or like the whole like the force heal thing, becoming a staple of like like oh we got to do this in this show because it's going to be in a movie. It's like, wait a second, what? Huh? Wait, huh? We're just introducing this just to introduce it so that like we can like canonically say it's a thing now. Like, okay, I mean, like, I on one hand I like that like everything's kind of more like related, like the game, books, and stuff, like intermedia wise. But on the other, I felt like all the books like coalesced really nicely, where like authors continued like off each other's works. Almost every book of Legends had like a timeline thing because they were all part of the same timeline for the most part, with a few exceptions. Like I thought
right.
all that
And
was really cool, and that just doesn't exist now, as far as I'm
right.
aware.
I feel like, yeah, going back to the whole timeline thing, there seemed like a little bit more effort taken into being like, um, this is a continuation again of the story in a timeline that makes sense to have something happen instead of, I feel like today it's just like so much overlap of the same stuff. It's not
Sure, yeah.
it it's so much
Well, I think
on over the
ultimately
same
they just
timing.
I think ultimately they just kind of like let people write what they want to write. And I think that's kind of cool for creative freedom or whatever. But like that, like ultimately, what ends up happening is the same thing that would happen if you let everyone who wanted to like open up a coffee shop. Most of those businesses die. Like, I mean, like when it comes down to it, like, I mean, like when you
Right, and
have
you're
like
not getting
10 books
the
like said in the same thing or whatever, and I think they tried to do it a little bit with High Republic and everything, where they were trying to structure it a little bit better. But
right.
like back in the day, I feel like it was more like, okay, like if you wanted to write a Star Wars book, it would have to fit in a timeline, and now it just doesn't. Now it can be like about the same
Right,
thing
and
from like a different like point of view. Ha ha ha.
yeah, you can
Uh,
actually you can definitely see the more attention to detail because of that, and I think it means it was more meaningful when I was going through Legends. Like, okay, why does this make sense here? Like having a little bit of why this is in the timeline now of Star Wars, or really whatever series you're reading, but like to have again a little bit more structure to for one, as a reader, you're like, why this on this thing has happened the same time as this? Why does that make sense? Whereas if you're going through like after the Return of the Jedi, or something like that, and then you have a year gap or two, and then it's like then you can like delve in. Oh, this could have happened. We can actually have a time period where we need to actually unveil what happened, instead of what we already know. And I think I
right.
like that anyways better. I want to know about more of like what the movie doesn't cover versus what we've already rehashed. I think really when it comes down to it,
Sure.
like
Or
I
even
don't.
like what other books have rehashed too, for that matter. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like, yeah, yeah.
and that, yeah, that I mean, honestly, before the previous the latest sequels of Star Wars, I mean, my again in the Legends after Return of the Jedi was started, was like really one of my favorite timelines because you got the Thrawn series, in there, the Legends Thrawn
Yeah.
series, great game, great games, hilarious, great books.
They would have made great games, I feel like, but I
Oh
mean, like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The series is just great. I mean,
yeah,
just kept you on your toes. The Young Jedi, great books. That whole timeline of like the Luke reworking the academy and like in light
Horn
of
Horn,
everything of the past,
and
but like yeah, all this stuff that he was rebuilding in a better light. Like this is the the next level of the Jedi, and
yeah.
it's just like so good. So good.
Well, like, and I feel like too, man, we are going down like we are deep diving a little bit today. But I feel like too, like man, I really liked how like essentially there were so many things working in conjunction. And hey, maybe I'm wrong, and the new Star Wars books do a better job of this than like I think they do. You know, like that's definitely possible because I haven't read a ton of the new Star Wars books. I've only read a few, but like it was really cool to like read like the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn, then go over to like the X-Wing books by Michael A. Stackpole, then go over to like whatever else, like the the Yusan Wang like series or
Yeah.
whatever, and like see what's going on there and everything. And just all of it to like connect. Like it felt kind of like the MCU in a good way, you know?
Right,
Of
right.
like everything like of it being like one universe. And now to me, the Star Wars books just don't feel, and even the movies and even the shows just don't necessarily feel like one universe. It feels like multiple interpretations of the same universe, which,
Yeah, it's more like the multiverse effect,
yeah,
the same stuff
which,
that could happen at the
and
same time. This could
like,
happen, you know?
I on one hand, I appreciate it gets more people into it. I do. And I like that. And I really, really, I think it's really interesting to see. But it's kind of almost like Star Wars Visions, or like the
Hmm.
What If, like cartoons,
Right. Hmm.
the What If show for MCU, where it's like this is cool and all, but also this doesn't like this is like ultimately this isn't all part of the same thing. Like this is just like, so what's the point of like getting invest into this universe when it's just going to be multiple interpretations of the same universe? Like comics do a
That
really good job of like, like consistently like, like this is the same
pulling from the
universe.
same
Like if you want
story,
to
yeah.
write in it or
Hmm.
whatever, like like these are, you can't like contradict what other people are doing in it, but like you can pretty much other than that, like uh, for the most part, give or take, like as long as you're hitting like major beats or whatever and like connecting it well enough, like you can kind of write your own story in there, but it does have to fit within the confines of that box. Whereas now it just feels like there's not really a box at all. And I feel like you could balance that better. Like, I mean, like, that's my main thing with Star Wars. That's my main thing with, like, a lot of things. Like, even Destiny to an extent, like, right now, I feel like Destiny doesn't have a box anymore. And I really appreciated when it did. Like, I have been reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson, and Brandon Sanderson, like, writes, like, multiple different series set in the same, like, meta universe, right? And it's really
Hmm.
cool because, like, he does have a large box there. Uh, which they do have rules inside each of their smaller boxes, but also inside the large box. And it's like, okay, well, like I understand this then. I know what can and can't happen in this universe. Like I appreciate knowing that because like that sets my expectations accordingly. And it's not just
Well,
it
and you
doesn't
can
feel
kind of
so
pick up,
random and arbitrary.
yeah, you can pick
And
up
yeah,
things that they are trying to like tell you through the story, like things that you might have already assumed or things that you've already known in
right.
the
That too.
overall
Yeah, yeah.
universe that you can just like jump right in and like I get this. I know this universe already, so then
Right.
I don't have
Exactly. Yeah.
to like you don't have to muddle through all the things to like kind of catch up.
Like
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, in the old days with Legends, like the games were not connected at all to the books, right? For the most part. Like there were all kinds of crazy things that happened in the games that never would have taken place in like
Well,
the
the
Legends
books, yeah,
universe.
the books themselves were existing, I feel like, outside of everything else. It was
Yep.
like this was a
Agreed. Yeah.
book universe. And I
Yep.
mean, I loved it for that because
Yep.
this continued what was written, and from this here on then, it's all the universe that we're telling in these, connected storylines in the book. But now, again, and this is probably part of the problem that they have is like, okay, now if everything needs to connect, that's a lot that's a lot to keep up with if we're having games and comics and
Yep.
movies and
And
TV
that's probably
shows.
why they're not
And
really trying to do so, or at least it doesn't seem like they
well, it
are.
would be really hard. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
could see it being a little bit more linear with books because you're only doing so many a year or every so many years, you know. Um, but it's also, structured like, okay, this is a continuation, another continuation of what's already been set before versus, okay, we have down the pipeline 15 stories that we're doing this year, across the mediums, if not more,
Right. Yeah.
probably more. And, it's become bigger, but I'm sure that's why they're doing what they're doing. But again, I'm right there with you, especially for like things that connect and make sense. Like we've been going through, me and Mike has kind of been going through Infinity Saga, and that's that is peak Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is peak, and I feel like that's that's what I like about Legends. That was kind of like peak for me, and I feel like if you want to have a great narrative, you want to have something that connects and something that makes something that you can go to a pizza shop and somebody be like, yeah, don't spoil it for me.
Yeah.
You have to get to that level, and a lot of things are not there. Even Marvel is kind of dropping the ball when it comes to being as connected and as linear with all that. Like you have to know all this to make sure you know the rest of the story. Um, and again, it's gotten a little crazy even with that because you have all these other things that you have to follow along, like especially
Right.
when you
Yeah.
go outside of just like the movies. Now you have to connect all the shows, and I think that's too much. I think,
I see. I don't think so, but I think that like we'll have to wait and see for that though too, because like I think they need
well,
to
we've
scale
already
it back
seen some of
somehow.
it though.
Yeah.
We've already seen that. After the whole Infinity Saga, like it's just not as cohesive in to me. It's not like
I think part of that is like,
everybody is coming together for this movie because I think maybe we're
well,
burnout. Maybe everybody is
part of
taking
it
a
could be
break.
burnout. Yeah. I think part of it too is like, I mean, even like, and I feel like Thunderbolts is actually almost like, I don't necessarily know if it's intended to be meta commentary, but it kind of feels like it, where like essentially the main character of Thunderbolts is, oh gosh, I forget her name, the sister of Black Widow.
Right.
Uh,
Hmm.
but like she goes, I'm so tired. It feels like a clock in, clock out. Like I mean, that almost feels like a describing of like what like the Marvel verse can kind of like ails from a little bit. You know, but I think part of it too is like we're in a like post like big huge event phase. Like I think it's really difficult to like come down from that in a satisfying way. Like after Endgame, I don't know what else you can do other than like slowly like rebuild. This almost feels like a rebuild. Like even in sports, like you have like rebuild years, right?
Hmm.
Where like you had this amazing team that did fantastic, but guess what? Some of their contracts expire or whatever, or like some of them are burned out, or like they're just not able to like consistently play at that level, and you kind of have to like reorganize everything that you've built for like the last like several years, like into a way that like has different focuses so that you can like continue to win, like maybe not this year but like 2 or 3 years down the line. And like I feel like that's where the MCU kind of is now, where like
Yeah. I
part
mean,
of it
there's some of that, but
I think
I
part of
feel
it
like
is a
there's
misunderstanding of like like how much the TV show, like I think that there's been a lack of consistency with the TV shows, and I think part of that was unplanned. But like
yeah, I could
also I
see that a
wonder,
little bit.
like
But my
uh,
my,
could,
my thing to that would be the fact that a lot of these movies are just misses, and it has nothing to do with like I feel like their stories are there, but like they're not. The movies just aren't hitting like they were, and I maybe that's part of just of how strong the Infinity saga was, because there are all these things that are connecting. There's all these things that are happening. All these superheroes are kind of like new to a lot of people too, or they're the first time that people have seen them. And then we have all these Infinity Stones. They're mysterious. What we don't know anything about them, and then there's mystery there. Where I feel like the new stuff, there's not all that going on, and I, at least for me, I'm not connecting the dots, as well as I was, and
I
maybe
mean,
that's by intention. Maybe they're doing that on purpose to kind of like keep it at, they don't want you to know what's going on. I don't know. They might come back around and surprise me, but at least for right now, it's just like I don't get it. I
which is
don't.
fair.
It's
Like,
not.
I
I'm
mean,
not the same spot, where
but
I was.
again, like, I mean, like, going back to the Empire Strikes Back example, I feel like, like, granted, I didn't necessarily feel this way when I saw it, but like, I know some people who like had to wait like, like 5 or 6 years to see like the next movie in Empire Strikes Back. And I do wonder if I would have liked it as much if I knew that I had to wait that long or not even have a timeline for like when it's going to happen,
Mm,
because that is a setup movie. That is a
mm,
setup movie with a major cliffhanger at the end. And then you have to wait to find out what happens. And you don't know how long it's going to be. And I feel like that's kind of where we're like, I mean, like you come off of like a big explosion of like the Death Star or whatever, and then you have to set things up for like something even bigger. And like that's a difficult thing to do. And I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like the movies have been relatively good, but it's just like it's weird coming off of like what's been like 10 years of building up and having all these crazy crossovers and stuff and like
mm,
having like the
mhm.
camaraderie and like the experience of like uh, getting familiar with all these characters and like getting to know them and know their foibles and like understand their struggles and like relate to them. And now we're like with a bunch of new kids and it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
new
well, like,
characters
I
and
mean,
things
like,
that.
yeah, like I think part of it is that. And I do think the writing's changed some, but I think part of that too has been like essentially kind of like at the beginning, it felt like, and I think this has been confirmed, like that they're like essentially with the TV shows specifically, they were kind of letting the showrunners kind of do their own thing. With like some like like bullet points that they had to hit, but other than that, like that's pretty much it. Whereas I feel like now that's changed, hopefully, because I think that's a necessary change. That like if you're going to build a cohesive story, including these TV shows, that there needs to be like some like cohesion behind like the direction of them. You can't just have like people doing whatever they want. Like that's not what you like get involved in like a cinematic project like Marvel or Star Wars for, for the most part. You don't generally get that much freedom in those for good reason.
Mhm.
But I mean like we'll see.
Yeah,
I
and
think I think
I'd
there
like to
is
be
about
wrong
a
for
fifty
sure.
fifty shot that
Yeah.
like we look back and we go, "Hey, actually this phase was the phase 2 of Marvel." Where like a lot of the movies besides Guardians like just didn't necessarily seem that impactful, you know? I think that
Well, and
that might be what
I'd like to
happens.
look
Yeah.
back and be right
Yeah.
there, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe, and again,
But it's hard to tell
I
right
hope
now.
it's more. I hope it's more
Yeah.
like it's they're kind of like at arm's length with some of the stuff that they're about to pull, and then it
Yeah.
all starts like looking back, it all makes sense. It all comes together, and then like, okay, now I get it. And again, like they have to, I get what you're saying. Like again, when you have something as big as a build up and then everybody knows about it, then you come off of it like where are we at?
Right.
We're
And
at a
well,
different
and like
crossroads, for
it's like
sure.
almost like moving to a new town and like, like now you have to make new friends or whatever.
Well,
And you have to
and
like,
these
like
characters are all
settle
completely new.
in
So
and
yeah,
yeah,
you're totally
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
When it comes
Like I
down to
mean
it,
like
you have to learn these. Well, and a lot of these characters. Okay, so yeah, I totally agree when it comes down to this. Like you said, okay, we've known all these characters that they've used. Now we've got other characters. So this is another thing too that we've maybe not even cared about. But we have known Iron Man, we've known Captain America, we've known Thor, we've known Spider Man decades. We
right.
don't know a lot about
That's the
these other
thing.
characters,
Yeah,
and so maybe
that's the
that's part of
thing.
it
Yeah.
too that I'm
I
just
think
not
that is part of it.
connecting to.
That said, like I mean, like it's hard to tell right now. It really is because like this could just be like a hey like Game of Thrones moment. We didn't know really what to do. Like I mean, like like or like we thought we were going to go in one direction, or it could be a result of like betting everything on Kang and then having that fall apart. You know, like I mean, that could be the case too, where like they obviously were like setting up Kang to be a big bad, and then like because of things like unrelated to movies and everything, like I mean, obviously that didn't work out. Like, so that could have been a factor too, like essentially like pushing so quickly into Doctor Doom without like like actually like setting it up quite as much as like they did like with Thanos. Uh,
Right. But
but like
again, that being said, I think I've heard lots of good things from Doctor Doom, and where they're going with that storyline. So I might be back in,
the
when I
thing
see
is
that. So we'll have to wait and see.
the thing that I come away from is that like with why I don't feel like this is another Game of Thrones thing is that when Game of Thrones happened, they were going off a pretty strong like script essentially of like the books already existing and everything, and all they had to do was just like essentially follow those events. They had a blueprint to what they were building, right? And the second they lost that blueprint, they just started kind of like making a weird like choices in terms of building. And I don't think Marvel is that, because like we haven't, the same guy who created the blueprint is in the room with us. Like I mean,
Hmm.
like he built out what most people would have said would be absolutely impossible in like creating the MCU through Endgame. And like I'm just not ready to necessarily discount him yet in terms of like what's next, because like he did such a phenomenal job with that, and he's still Kevin Feige when it comes down to
Yeah.
it. You know, like and it
Well, and
and
I'm
like
pretty excited too. The Russell brothers are what? They're coming back.
yep, the Russo brothers are coming
Russo
back, and
brothers.
then
Yeah.
like I
Hmm.
mean like, but like also like the other thing too is that the source material is still there too, where like they still have amazing stories to draw from and everything from the comics and everything. So
Right.
like I think as long as like they like have both the person who's been doing the building, the same contractor or what have you, with his own creative vision for it, and then like the same material, like that, like they haven't run out of like good material, because there's tons of good material in the comics that they haven't even touched yet. Like I think that like I'm not ready to like call it a loss yet. Like I'm pretty
Right.
optimistic still. Like I feel
Well, I
like
just
if
want to
one of
see
those things
some
had changed, like if
clarity.
someone, yeah,
I
if
think that's the
someone had
biggest thing
taken
more than
over
anything.
the if someone had taken over the reins from like Kevin Feige, I'd be a lot more worried. I'd be like, oh, I don't know if this new person is up to it. But like with Red versus Blue, like if Bernie had continued writing and it just got substantially worse as he was writing, it would have been like, oh, like what's going on here? But that didn't happen. Like new writers took over, and I could tell. I mean, like, and I feel like having the original progenitor of that, like the vision of what the MCU is, like still in charge, I think at least lends itself to like some confidence that like they haven't lost that, you know? Uh,
Right. Right.
But we'll
Well,
see,
and
because
I guess
it's
time will
always
tell.
possible that they have. But yeah, I mean, like I don't know. I
Well,
remain optimistic.
I
Yeah,
hope that they haven't. I think the biggest thing, we'll just have to wait and see here in the next year.
yeah,
But really coming out, um, will they? At least for me personally, will the cloud be unveiled? Like it just feels like you know,
yeah.
the
But I think it
mysteries
will.
there.
That's the thing. Like
I
I
want to
mean,
see it. Yeah, I want to see
I
it.
do think it
I
will.
hope
We'll
they
we'll
will.
see. But like
I
I think that
I have
I think
hopes.
that
I still
it's
have
an
hopes.
intentional cloud right now. I do. I don't think it's like by accident that this clouds exist. I think already there's been some really, really, really intriguing. Like, did you see the Ironheart show?
I have not. No, I haven't had a chance to
Uh,
go through that yet.
you hate spoilers, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, okay. All
and
right.
then we're actually getting pretty close on time. Actually,
Yeah.
we don't want John to be too mad at us. So
There's a really, really interesting thing that happens at the end of the Ironheart show that I didn't think they'd do. Which like actually kind of like, what does this mean for the story? I'm way more intrigued now after seeing
interesting.
that twist,
Yeah.
because I feel like that twist was like actually a very big story block to like what they're building. But like, I mean, we'll see. But like, yeah, and I think that won't pay off for a while. But like, still, like the fact that they did what they did with that in a show that will hopefully like pan out like in the future is really really cool to me. But like, we'll see.
Yeah.
Ironheart show underrated a little bit, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I
Well,
didn't
there's a
love
lot
all
of
of it,
Marvel.
but
There's
like,
a lot of
yeah,
Marvel shows that are honestly underrated, and
yeah.
definitely go check out. I think we probably should call it before we get in trouble by the other
Yeah, I'm the
guy.
one who edits it now, so I mean, I'm gonna be the
Oh,
one who
okay.
gets in
Well,
trouble
we can
if
go for another
by
hour.
me.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
I mean,
I
like,
mean,
like
wrapping
franchises
up,
are cool, but
he'll
like complicated sometimes.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts, everyone, about Marathon. Let us know about how you think about the cinematic universe of Marvel is going, and even Star Wars. And there's a bunch of other things we covered, but I'll let you go back and listen to it. So, anyways, this is the last episode of a Nav cast for 2025. It's been a journey. Glad to be here. If you guys haven't liked to subscribe to us, definitely go do that. YouTube, where are we? We're everywhere, just about
Yeah.
everywhere. So go check us out on Spotify.
Maybe Short's coming back.
Apple
Maybe,
Podcasts.
possibly. We'll see.
Shorts might be coming back. Who knows? Yeah. But it's been a pleasure this year. You'll see us back next week, next year,
Next year.
2026.
Jeez. You'll have to
Yeah.
wait a whole year to hear from
20.
us again. My goodness.
Yep, it's kind of crazy. With that being said, well, that's
And our awards coming up
See you next
year,
time.
too.
What?
Our award show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, catch you all then.
Get out of here, Craig.